Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 107th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great.
I see you just, looking up to the heavens thinking about why you're great.
No, I was actually just, yeah, you're right. I was trying to think about why I'm great. I don't really know why, but that's just what I say, man. That's what I do. How are you, Cameron?
I'm great, of course. It is football season, NFL style. It's almost football season, college style.
Yeah, it was. We watched the Chiefs together last week.
Oh yeah.
That was like almost surreal. With no preseason, it was just all of a sudden football's here and it's a Thursday night.
Yeah.
But that was wonderful. That was a wonderful evening.
Yeah.
Very fun. Good win for the Chiefs.
Good wings in our bellies.
That too.
Yum. Yeah, Chiefs looking pretty good. Panthers not so much. Did you see how that ended? Panthers 4th and inches, driving to try to win the game, need a touchdown. 4th and inches. They handed it to the fullback. He got stuffed.
Wow.
And that's when I knew they're tanking.
Yeah, you got Christian McCaffrey. Got to use him.
Yeah. Maybe
deception is
yeah.
Getting the ball in his hands is more valuable than trying to trick them into thinking he's going to have the ball in his hands.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Unfortunate. But, yeah, I don't know.
You had to know that at least I think you're prepared for a rough season.
Absolutely.
It was no surprise to you that the defense was awful.
Yep.
Their offense is fine.
Yeah.
They'll be all right. They'll be fun to watch. They'll have lots of shootouts.
That's the problem, is they'll win a handful of games and not get the number one pick. And then what are we doing?
I got no answer for you.
Same thing next year.
Exactly.
Hey, the Browns are the first pick like half the time, and they're still bad. So it doesn't mean you're going to be saved.
Well, yeah. At least the last time the Panthers had the number one overall pick, they got an MVP, and he took them to a Super Bowl. So
true.
I think they can do it again. Yeah. The Browns, I feel like, are an outlier with their lack of success at the number one pick.
Yeah, it's almost impressive how they're always bad no matter what.
Was Baker Mayfield number one overall?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is insane. I couldn't believe it at the time either, honestly.
It's just
crazy.
So desperate for a quarterback that you just
draft.
I mean, yeah, he won the Heisman, but I don't know. I feel like you did that, a light version of that, 2 years earlier with Johnny Manziel.
I know.
Yeah.
Same kind of player-ish.
Yeah. But I don't know. I probably would have said the same thing about Kyler Murray, and he's performing pretty well for the.
That's true.
For
Kyler Murray has been better than I expected. That's for sure.
It's just almost uncanny how often it doesn't work out for them.
Yeah.
Literally all the number one picks that are not by the Browns kind of work out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's insane.
Browns are playing tomorrow, Thursday Night Football.
Oh yeah, Baker Mayfield,
See if they can turn it
Joe
around.
Burrow.
That's true.
Great game.
Joe Burrow's good.
Battle of the number ones.
He had a tough matchup, week one. I think he'll bounce back.
Bengals aren't exactly great, so.
No, but I think their offense is going to be decent. And that's what everybody's here for, is to listen to us talk about the AFC, whatever division that is.
North.
Yeah. No. AFC North? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Okay.
Not my area of expertise.
That's okay. Get to the good stuff.
We've got news. We've got a full recruiting class for basketball, looks like. So we're going to put a nice little bow on that. We're going to talk a little bit about football news leading up to week 1 against Alabama. Before we do any of that, remember, now is the time to jump on board with these podcasts, with these YouTube videos, get familiar with the players. We broke down the entire roster and then previewed the season in our last 2 episodes. So if you have a family member or a friend that, inevitably halfway through the season, they're going to be like, I don't know any of the players. I don't know what's going on. Have them listen to the last couple episodes. They'll get caught up on everything, and then we can hit the ground running once the games actually start.
Yeah. We've had some good engagement on our YouTube videos, so I think a lot of new listeners and viewers. So welcome aboard and welcome in.
And as far as the podcast downloads go, we're back-to-back really good months. So I think people are excited for football season. And
So am I.
Hopefully that means we're doing an okay job. We appreciate all the listeners, all the viewers, everybody that engages. And we just want more of you. Kyle, we got some news. Let's hit them with the big news. 12 players out for week 1 versus Alabama with COVID-related absence. Not all positive tests, and we don't know who they are.
Yeah, that's
but
like
a dozen players.
That's the crazy thing, man, is, I would say most of them probably haven't tested positive, but it's just the tracing. Like, well, this person was with that person who did test positive, so we're going to have to sit them and just trying to be a step in front of it, I suppose. But
so be prepared to be without Nick Bolton, Tyler Beatty, Larry
Roundtree. It's going to be all the best players,
both quarterbacks. So we're going to have Micah Wilson at quarterback, but he's going to have to just lob the ball up and then run and catch it himself.
Make my 7-on-7 team look good, Micah. You got it, man. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know when we're going to find out who those players are. I mean,
I was going to ask, will it just be game day?
I don't know.
I think so, because remember there was a thing where positive tests weren't going to be announced. They weren't going to be tied to a player. And we talked about how we're just going to have, no-shows on game day.
Yeah.
And we're going to be oh, well, I guess that's our COVID people.
I think the fear now is genuinely how can we keep this at 12? Because you're starting to get to the point where so many people are infected. I just don't see how it didn't potentially spread to a much larger number of people than 12. But I don't know, if they are deeming the people that already tested positive this summer as okay. I don't know what how they're doing that, but it could be a very interesting first week. I know we're already playing Bama, so it's already probably potentially going to be pretty ugly. Now it has the real possibility to be extremely ugly, especially if there's more players that can't play. So At this point, I'm just hoping they can play, because it wouldn't shock me if it got to that point where they're worried about fielding the team.
Yeah, and it is still possible that it's pretty well contained and we're not going to notice a huge difference on game day.
Yeah, we don't really know anything about it, so maybe they do feel pretty confident that it's contained and they know what they're doing, but...
On the other side, Nick Saban said 0 players for Alabama are in jeopardy of missing game 1 at this point.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. In a slightly related news, Maurice Massey and Chris Daniels have decided to opt out of the season. Obviously, we know, based on news from about a month ago, that they will retain all eligibility, so they won't really lose anything by opting out. Basically getting an extra redshirt year, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Maurice Massey, a guy that could have seen some playing time this year. You gotta wonder how a player's role on the team would factor into a decision like this. You wouldn't think it would be too terribly related. You think there would be personal stuff that would, in the pros, we've seen players opt out because they have close family that they're in contact with that are immunocompromised and they just don't feel comfortable, in that situation. But I wonder if a player's role could factor into that at all.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much on their personal decisions, but it's possible that. But a guy like that might have a shot to kind of make an impact. You might think that he might have some more motivation to play, considering there might be some absences or something like that. But obviously, this goes well beyond the actual game of football. So
yeah, I feel like honestly, from an X's and O's standpoint, just having 2 players opt out is not bad.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Let's see here. The lesser news items that I have here: the Denver Nuggets. MPJ's own Mizzou-made Denver Nuggets did the incredible and came back yet again from a 3-1 deficit in an NBA playoff series. And they're now 2 out of 5 times that's ever happened before.
Yeah, it was something incredible. It hadn't happened in many years.
Well, the most recent time it happened was actually in the NBA Finals when LeBron's Cavaliers came back against the Warriors.
Yeah.
And then, but that, it had never happened in the finals before.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like teams that went up 3-1 were like 99% win the series 99% of the time.
Especially when you think about who they were up against, like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, definitely incredible talent, and Lou Williams. I mean, they had so many studs on that team. I can't believe that they pulled that off, to be honest. And man, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic have been absolutely balling out.
Yeah.
MPJ honestly had a really big shot in like I think it was one of the games where they had their back against the wall. It was an elimination game. They might have been down 3-1 at that point, but he made a huge three to pretty much secure the win for them, or kind of give them the lead really late in the game. His minutes are kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand what
He'll play 29 and then 9
he'll literally,
the next night.
Yes, he'll literally like play as many as anyone on the team, and then sometimes play half the game or less. And but I'm still encouraged with what he's been able to do.
Absolutely.
He's made some interesting comments like to the media and stuff. I think he publicly came out and was talking about had some mild criticisms maybe for their X and O strategy a little bit, and I think he probably had to have a talking to from the coach about taking those things public. But I think that's just going to be part of him growing in the league.
Yeah, what a good opportunity for him though to not be relied on to do too much too soon. I mean, you don't see a number one player in their high school recruiting class who, is a sure thing, one and done. Mm-hmm. You just don't see them get an opportunity to go to an established team that has a core of veterans that are making deep playoff runs without him, and just be able to learn in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I know they already played the Lakers once earlier in this year, at least, but I think he will probably be guarding LeBron a decent amount and vice versa. I think that'll be really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably not going to be putting up great numbers in that specific matchup.
Probably not.
For him personally, but yeah, LeBron, last I checked, pretty good basketball player.
He's okay.
Yeah. Trying to win his third championship, trying to win a championship with a third different team, which would be pretty incredible. Speaking of basketball, Mizzou basketball going to start on November 25th. So that's a little bit later than what was scheduled.
2 or 3 weeks later than it was going to originally start.
But that's going to get here in a hurry.
Yeah, it is. And I have no idea what that means for the non-conference games that were scheduled before that. They may just lose those games, or maybe they'll reschedule them. The Kansas game's intact, so that's kind of what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Like I want that game to happen so badly. So
we've been talking about college football, and just like, I don't know, that's all I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to scheduling and scholarships and all this stuff for so long. It's just crazy to think that we're already back around to nearing another college basketball season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you think about college basketball, you think about the NCAA tournament being canceled, and that I don't know, this doesn't make any sense, but it feels both not long ago and a long time ago.
Yeah, it's like so much has happened, but at the same time, it's like, wow, that was still the coronavirus caused that. Like, that was really not that long ago, and here we are. As far as the sports world goes, I feel like the summer months go so slow, and we're looking forward to football and all that stuff. But when we get to football season, like it goes quick, and basketball season will be here very soon. Yeah,
it was like April. No, the month of March was like the longest month ever recorded in human history. And then since March, everything's gone like warp speed.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Pretty much.
The summer was over in a flash.
Yep.
I don't have a good segue here. Drew Lock played as a starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
A little too late for my taste, but hey, there's Drew. How you doing, buddy?
Drew. Yeah, he had some really good moments. He's got a lot of weapons. Noah Fant looks really good. Jerry Jeudy looks like he's going to be very good. It's going to be fun.
No Cortland Sutton, so he was a little bit hamstrung by that.
Yeah, his wide receivers dropped a few balls too, so his stat line wasn't quite as good as it probably should have been. But he really had some good moments, and I think the Broncos will. As I'm a Chiefs fan, but I can still appreciate a fun offense, and Drew Lock obviously playing for the Broncos. So that's I'll probably try to watch them as much as I can this year. They're gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, he scrambled for a first down, couple times and scrambled around and then threw a touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reminded me, obviously, of him playing at Mizzou when he would just kind of play would break down a little bit. He would make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I look back at that and I think, man, I don't know if Missouri's going to have that kind of talent at quarterback for a very long time. We were spoiled, and I don't think we knew what we had when he was under center or in the shotgun.
That's probably true. It seemed like he was always great at putting up the stats and like he looked so good throwing the ball and all that stuff. It didn't really equate to wins, is not what it always felt like. And hopefully in the NFL, maybe with maybe some better coaches or something, or some better weapons around him, maybe they'll find ways to win more games with him at the helm. But it just felt like no matter how good he was, it just seems like we always would find a way to just be mediocre whenever he was here.
The team had a ceiling that his individual play couldn't.
Yep.
He just couldn't elevate them.
But he definitely looked athletic on Monday night. I thought he looked much faster than I envisioned, than I remembered him. He had some nice scrambles. Looked like he had some wheels.
I would agree. Real quick, Kyle, do you want to update the listeners of a poll that you put out with our 7-on-7 teams? It'll be up. I don't think it will still be up by the time people are listening to this.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I think
it's kind of a interesting concept to try to explain to someone who hasn't listened to the episode. But we posted a graphic kind of showing the teams that we picked last week in the 7-on-7 draft, and it looks like and I put up a poll. People could vote for your team or for my team, and looked like you took the narrow victory.
Yeah, I think it's probably still too close to call. Yeah, definitely too close to call. 48% for you.
Oh wow.
52% for me.
So we've had
with 25 votes,
which is like a incredibly low amount of votes comparatively to like a normal poll that I feel like I'd put out. But you would have to really analyze the chart and all that stuff, to feel like you could make an educated decision. But thanks to those who voted, and thanks to those who voted for me.
Oh my God.
I appreciate your vote.
Let's see here. Big Ten is back, folks. Producer Cameron, how do you feel about that?
Pretty good. It'll be nice to watch Nebraska play. If Nebraska was not in the Big Ten, I would have been with you guys and been chanting, "Let them rot." But that's not the case because I just want to watch Nebraska play football.
Yeah, all politics and safety concerns aside, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the Big Ten was absolutely correct in postponing or canceling the football season. I am not in a position to know right or wrong. All of that aside, I wanted the Big Ten to implode, basically, over this decision and cease to exist, and just for the sheer chaos of it. Yeah. I wanted to see it just, the anarchy take over. I wanted to see Nebraska leave for the Big 12.
I was going to say, it would have been kind of fun almost to be like, okay, Nebraska and whatever schools want to play are going to go do this thing.
I wanted to see Ohio State join the SEC.
We love when folks are mad.
Yeah. So that would have been just so fascinating to see if it truly had just broken down.
Yeah. Well, one thing remains, and we knew this at the time, but whenever the Big Ten made their decision on like August 11th or something to cancel their season, we knew at the time it was too early, and that has proven still to be very true. There was no reason to make that call at that time.
That first week of NFL football, I'm just imagining that it went so smoothly for the NFL. And even the last month leading up to it has gone so smoothly for the NFL. I just imagine the athletic directors or anybody who has a financial stake or just is really passionate about Big Ten football was probably looking at it and going, why are we not playing football?
Yes. And I feel like it really probably took that for maybe the Big Ten presidents to change their mind because, I mean, now finally we're seeing some reversal on their decision making, but truly it really felt like a completely normal week. I mean, the fan noise was a little bit weird at first, but after a while I kind of didn't even notice it.
Yeah, when in the NFL broadcasts, I was all in on it was completely normal until there was a camera angle that showed the seats.
Yeah,
And then I was like, oh, yeah, there's nobody there.
I actually like when baseball was saying stuff like, oh, we're going to like pump in some crowd noise and stuff. I was like, that's just going to like be weird. But like watching on TV, I was like, I actually think I prefer this because it feels more normal.
Yeah.
Like I don't really care that it's
Fake.
fake.
Yeah.
I also, on Red Zone, Scott Hansen, he was talking, he said that NFL Films found situations in old game footage. So like, let's say the Bills had like a 4th and 1 and they get it in Buffalo. They have footage with that sound of them going for it on a 4th and 1 in Buffalo and what that sound would be like in Buffalo. And
That's
they
awesome.
sent it to like the TV stations.
Steve TV.
Steve TV. They sent it to Steve TV and they put it up there.
That's crazy.
But I was like,
That's
it's
really
kind of cool,
cool,
like
actually.
how
I
they
did not
like
know that.
how in depth they went to
Yeah.
try and make it feel like as
Well,
good as
I
they
was
could.
noticing a little bit of that, like a groan / boo sound when an opponent would convert on a big 3rd down or something.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were not really actively paying attention, you really wouldn't notice it at all as it being like fake.
Until they show that camera angle.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm
cardboard
like,
cutouts.
well, that's where I'm like, fill the stands with cardboard cutouts,
Yeah.
and it would even be that much more believable.
I wonder if it affects the players at all. I wonder if they feel like it's weird or if they feel like they can't like get up for the game, I guess, if you will.
I think I don't obviously I don't have experience playing in front of that sort of crowd, but players talk about just being locked in and just not even hearing
Just
the
like
crowd
practice.
and just forgetting that the crowd is there.
Yeah.
So probably during the actual play, like once the ball is snapped, they probably don't even think about it. And probably those in between times or when they're on the bench or something,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, this is weird. This is like practice.
Yeah.
Probably like the visual of it almost might be more like
Yeah.
jarring for them than the like
I was thinking about
audio.
kickers kicking into an empty
Yeah.
backdrop when they're used to in game situation, fans going crazy.
Yeah. I'm just so thankful that they figured out a way to do it safely and successfully. Like I just know for a while there, I was really worried that we weren't going to get football this year, but make it work.
And college football is going to be a completely different animal, I think. Just
Yeah.
Well, I
obviously-
mean, you've got kids on campus
More
like, running around.
players.
Like it's just
Yeah.
They have twice as many people on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a little rockier, I think, but I'm still happy they're going to try.
I mean, already 12 players being out for Missouri. We haven't even come close to seeing anything like that in the NFL.
No.
Yikes. We're just jumping around all over the place. I guess we're going to put a flag in it right here and transition to 2 topics of the show. And the first one, we're going to put a bow on the 2021 basketball recruiting class. So it all started way back when Springfield native Anton Brookshire committed to the Tigers. And then there was a little break in the action. But then very quickly, we got commitments from Caleb Brown, Sean Dura-Gordon, Trevon Brazil, teammate of Anton Brookshire, and Yaya Kita. So we can be pretty sure that there will not be another traditional high school recruit taken in this class. And we can kind of take stock of it. We think there's probably going to be a transfer come in of some sort, but at this point it doesn't really matter too terribly much how that last scholarship is filled. We've got this 5-man recruiting class, and we can kind of take stock of it now.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where this class was what was gonna happen with this class. Coming into the year, or even like 3 months ago. We were in a little different place as far as recruiting goes than we are right now, and I wasn't convinced that there were even 5 high school players that would want to play for Missouri out there. That's what it felt like for a while. We were just kind of going in the dark for a very long time, but I feel a little re-energized about this class. Nobody just blows you away, I guess, as far as from a talent perspective or anything like that. But I'm very excited about just what these 5 guys offer as a class, and I like the upside. I think there's some real talent. I think there's a lot of potential for these guys to be high-level players. We maybe took a flyer on Trevon Brazil a little bit, but again, he offers some serious upside, some incredible length. So not everybody is going to be a star, but I think all 5 of these guys can definitely fill an important role.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was kind of thinking back to when I personally first started thinking about Missouri's 2021 recruiting class. And I looked through the rankings. I looked at the state rankings for Kansas and Missouri and Illinois and Michigan. You don't need to look at Michigan. Just don't even look at those rankings. But I was looking at 3 players that I thought, and I remember saying on the podcast, like, Konzo has an opportunity to have a class similar to that, which includes Javon Pickett, Torrance Watson, and Xavier Pinson. But I think they can be 50 points higher on the composite rankings. And I was looking at guys like Kennedy Chandler, Tamar Bates, and Jordan Nesbitt. And boy, was I wrong on Kennedy Chandler. He exploded and was one of the best point guards in the country and could go wherever he wanted, had offers from everyone, and went to Tennessee, unfortunately, of all places. Jordan Nesbitt, we don't know what happened. He never got recruited by Missouri. No interest by Konzo Martin.
Which I think he announced he's going to make his decision in the next month or so. So we actually might have some clarity on that soon.
And he is, according to 24/7 Sports, 100% to St. Louis.
Really?
So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Interesting.
And then Tamar Bates, Missouri, we think actually did have a shot at, but ended up going to Texas. They at least acted like they were interested all the way up until the decision. The class that we ended up with is very different from what I was envisioning. I was envisioning a tentpole class like Missouri hasn't seen in the last 10 years. Something that would energize the fan base and really show that Konzo has a direction in mind that is easy to follow. Like, you don't even have to explain for 10 seconds where the program's headed. We didn't get that. But what I think we did get is a class that kind of shows that Konzo is secure in his standing, in his job security. He feels like he's at a point where he doesn't need to take chances. I'm thinking back to like a Frank Haith recruiting class when he didn't know what the next year was going to bring as far as his job security. And he was plugging holes, with transfers and looking at pretty much constant short-term solutions to just get 20 wins the next season. Just keep getting 20 wins and maybe I can get that extension and then I can really start doing what I need to do. Konzo's not taking that route, partly because of the security I think that his job included when he first started. But this would have been the time, I think, to plug some holes with some short-term fixes in order to maybe, if you like this upcoming season's roster, maybe have back-to-back 20-win seasons.
Yeah.
But instead, I think he's really looking long-term with this class. And him having the guts to do that, I think, makes me less worried than I could be by just looking at the pure player rankings, I guess.
I think it's a good point. I think, if a coach is worried, I think you can tell by the recruiting moves, and this 100% is the complete opposite of somebody who's worried about this year being the make or break year. I still think that that's potentially on the horizon if things go south, but I do think that Konzo Martin has bet on this current roster multiple times, and I think that this kind of recruiting class is again another bet on these guys. And they tried to get a couple of grad transfers, and they did get one grad transfer, Bugs, is that his name, to help shore up some point guard minutes and stuff like that. But for the most part, I think we know Konzo likes his roster and is confident, and I think we are all a little disappointed about last season, but I still think there's hope for a pretty solid season this year.
Yeah, I just wonder if he's going to get to the point where, obviously, I think he'll be more disappointed than anybody if this upcoming season doesn't go like you think it should. I mean, obviously, like you said, he's doubled down multiple times on, the main contributors that are currently on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I would maybe argue that he's just setting himself up for disappointment and thus ending up on a lot of fans' bad side. But, I still love him as a coach. I love him as a human, and I think he knows what he's doing. I do think that this class, though, is more of what we should have been expecting all along, perhaps. Obviously that first recruiting class, you basically just need to throw it out as far as rankings are concerned. This class right now is ranked about 25th or so, depending on who you look at. Obviously, it's not going to stay that way because Missouri's filled in their spots earlier than most other schools,
which is remarkable.
Yeah. But still, if you're looking at the 25 to 35 range, that's something we can live with and is something that we've always talked about. Missouri is the type of program that's not going to always go get those marquee guys. You got to have developmental players that you can build around and then sprinkle in those 4 stars every once in a while.
Yeah, I am a little bit afraid for the following season, though. Whatever happens this year, I'm a little afraid for 2 seasons from now.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are going to be incoming freshmen. I think they're going to be certain players are going to be relied upon to come in and contribute right away. Probably Sean Dewar-Gordon and Anton Brookshire. Probably both of those guys are going to be counted on quite a bit right away.
One of my questions I was going to ask you is who you think is going. Maybe I'll tweak the question a little bit. Who do you think is going to be relied upon more? Who do you think day one has the most to provide?
I think Anton does. I think he's pretty polished, and I don't know. I think he's going to come in and he's not going to be scoring 15 points a game or anything. I don't think his freshman year, but I think he'll contribute. I think he'll handle the ball quite a bit probably. And again, I think Sean Dewar-Gordon can come in and provide some solid minutes too, and probably in a much different way though. I don't think he's going to be scoring a lot right away, but I think he can really provide on the defensive end and get rebounds and that kind of stuff. I think he'll probably play a lot.
I think maybe my answer to that would be Yaya Kita, in that he's going to provide something that's just not really going to be on the roster anywhere else. I mean, Jordan Wilmore is a massive human.
Yeah.
He's over 7 feet tall. So, but
you think those two will start together?
Not necessarily, but I think if Kita's your backup big, or the other way around, potentially, I think he's going to just see a lot of playing time. And if he can reliably, if either one of those guys, he or Wilmore, can reliably just finish easy buckets and clean up the rebounds and provide some rim protection. Obviously, it seems like Wilmore should be better at all of those things because he's nearly 6 inches taller.
Yeah.
But I think Yaya Kita's athleticism and just strength for his size, I think he'll be a little bit underrated in that regard. And I think if he is tenacious defensively, I think he'll win the heart of the coaching staff really quickly and then just earn minutes out of necessity.
Yeah, he is an explosive athlete, that's for sure.
When it's all said and done, you think which of these 5 players do you think starts the most games in the Mizzou uniform?
I gotta assess the current depth at the positions they play. I mean, I'll probably Anton because I feel like the guard position is going to be a little bare whenever he's coming in. I think he has a pretty good chance to start immediately. I mean, Drew Smith, Drew Buggs.
Yeah, they'll both
probably Pinson. If Pinson leaves early, he obviously will have that opportunity.
If Pinson leaves early, then it's Brookshire for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I could see them starting alongside each other, even if Pinson is still around.
Yeah.
But I also think Sean Dewar-Gordon has a good chance just with his versatility, and he's known. People are saying that his defensive abilities are what's going to translate to the next level the quickest. And obviously we know how much Gonzo Martin likes that in a player.
Yeah.
So even if he's not contributing much offensively right off the bat, we've seen Konzo start Javon Pickett and Kobe Brown, who, as freshmen were, in my opinion, in a little over their heads, and we didn't want to be relying on them to play starter minutes, but he threw them out there and they did okay.
Yeah.
For the most part. So
that's certainly the nature of this class. I mean, these guys are going to have to just be thrown into the fire because there's going to be so little other options to turn to, I think, unless we just have a huge haul of transfers or something. Or in Pinson stays. We have all of those things go our direction. These guys are going to be counted on to contribute from day one, probably most of them.
Yeah. The only other thing that I want to say real quick about this class is that I feel like it's becoming clear to Konzo that he needs to just get the guys that are all in on
want to be here.
Yeah, on what he's presenting. I think, at least if I were him, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes, I would be done with any player who is not just completely all in day one. And if you as the recruiter have any sense that this guy's all in, this guy's not, maybe this guy's 50, 25 points higher in this rating system, maybe he's just saying, I'll take the guy that's all in and give me a recruiting class full of guys who want to be Missouri Tigers and want to play for me and have those qualities that I value. I'll roll with those guys.
Yes, those kind of intangibles can really go a long way. And, I mean, we saw both of the Kickapoo guys committed within days of having their offer. I mean, that's a pretty good sign they really respect Konzo, respect the brand of Mizzou, and that's a school that they long to go to. Mm-hmm. Really, all these guys, I mean, we're really early in the recruiting cycle.
Yeah,
and all 5 of those guys have already made their commitment. I think that says a lot about, like you said, them wanting to be there. And I think that can go a surprisingly long way in the success of a team, as you've got a whole very strong bond of players that want to be where they are.
Players that it won't matter if they are getting starter minutes or, red shirt. They will
trust the process.
Exactly. Just like the 76ers did. I saw a hilarious tweet that said the 76ers successfully built 2 Eastern Conference Finals teams, but neither one of them were the 76ers because they allowed Boston to draft Jason Tatum and traded Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat, or, botched their time with Jimmy Butler, and he ended up being on the Heat. I thought that was pretty funny. Kyle, one thing I wanted to bring up, something funny from earlier, when you tweeted a reaction to Dave Matter's tweet saying that when he announced that 12 players for Missouri were not going to be playing week 1 against Alabama, I didn't see that. I have notifications on for whenever you tweet from the podcast account. So I just saw, I think you just said, oh my God. And I saw that and immediately my mind starts racing. And I want to put you on the spot here and see if you can think my wheels start spinning really fast. I'm thinking, what could this be a reaction to? And I want to know what you think popped into my head right off the bat when I saw that you were reacting that way to something.
You probably thought there was an injury or something, or a terrible injury. I don't know. You probably thought Jonte tore his ACL again. No, I don't know.
Something very specific popped into my head. I immediately, when I saw it, and I tried to think, what could he be reacting to?
Know, somebody got fired or something.
I thought Xavier Pinson transferred.
Can you imagine, after everything we've been through, he would do that to us?
That was just like the most readily available bad news.
That's hilarious. That's funny that's the thing that I never would have thought of that.
On the tip of my brain, I was just like, oh.
No, I was actually standing in line at Subway, and there was like a bunch of just strange occurrences going on around me. There was like an employee and a customer like fighting about like their sandwich, and like the guy next to me was like telling the lady to like move up in the line, and I'm just standing there just like trying to like exist. And I saw that tweet and I was just like, oh my God. And I actually tweeted it and just almost instantly deleted it because I was just like, well, this isn't really adding any value. So I was just like, well, that's a dumb tweet. So I just pretty much instantly deleted it. But I know that you had notifications on, so I knew that you probably saw it and were thinking, what was that about?
Yeah, so I got like ding, 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 like 3 tweets sent by you in pretty quick succession.
3 of them?
Yeah, because you, like that original one, and then you
I wrote
it.
a new one,
Yeah, and then you replied to somebody else or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't really matter, but it was like pretty quick. I thought maybe it was just some notification for something else, but then as soon as I saw it was you on Twitter, I was like, oh no. And I saw that and I was like, just immediately like what could it possibly be?
I think I was so surprised because just a few days ago we heard there was like 3 players. I'm like, I'm not worried about that. Like a couple days later, 12 players. Like, oh my God, if we're going at this like trajectory.
3 days later, 60 players.
Yes, exactly. If we're going at this rate, but I am very sorry that I did that to you and anyone else that may have post notifications on. I'm very sorry for giving you that heart attack. But we're gonna get through this.
Yeah, that was much better.
Funny.
That was not nearly as bad of news as I was expecting. Like what raced through my brain really quick.
I'm sorry for my drama.
That's okay. All right, Kyle. Switching gears back to football, SEC football. Missouri, they're playing. Missouri's playing Alabama week 1. But I want to know your outlook for the season as a whole. And I just got 2 easy questions for you to answer.
Easy questions. All right.
Who do you think is going to win the SEC East, and who do you think is going to win the SEC West? Now, obviously, Georgia, been a powerhouse last 4 seasons. Been hard to compete with them under Kirby Smart. Florida's got Dan Mullen turning things around. And is there anybody else worth considering in the East?
No, I don't think so. I think Florida's going to win the East just because I think they're the most well-rounded team. I think Dan Mullen is capable enough. I don't think he's like the greatest coach in the world or anything, but I think he's definitely a serious upgrade to what they've had in recent past.
Yeah, I think he's
Kyle Trask
solid.
Is a very solid quarterback.
Yeah.
And they're just good everywhere. I don't know that they're necessarily like super elite anywhere. Like their defense probably won't be as good as Georgia's, but I think that the rest of their team will be well balanced enough to overtake Georgia. I don't know what Georgia's quarterback depth looks like, and that right there alone can derail a successful team from being elite if they don't have good quarterback play. And they usually always have amazing running backs, so I'm sure they can just hand it off 100 times a game and they'll be fine. But
you're talking about Georgia?
Yes,
yeah.
Sorry. But Florida, I think that they have the most well-rounded team.
Does it matter to you that Georgia hosts the Gators on November 7th?
Maybe. I don't know.
Limited in-person attendance, which, circling back to news real quick, did you see that Missouri's plans to have
like
around 1,000 students
yeah.
in person? Be interesting. But yeah, I actually agree with you. I'm picking Florida to win the SEC East, basically for all those reasons you gave.
You've been high in Florida for a couple of years now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Even before you knew about Kyle Trask.
Right. Yeah.
Even when they had Franks. Wow, you silly goose.
Well,
you lucked into Kyle Trask.
I won't argue with you too much there. But
you were on brand about LSU too.
Yeah.
You were very right about that.
I am a big believer in Dan Mullen, actually. I think he was a really good coach at Mississippi State, and he kind of had a little bit of a homecoming returning to Florida, and I think he'll be a good coach there for a very long time. It's unfortunate that 2 really good coaches went back to their alma mater in Florida and Georgia, and they're just incredible coaches, and they're just going to be good for a long time and recruit well. And
we tried it. Didn't work.
Yeah. It's almost like what Missouri did with Barry Odom was not that similar to Kirby Smart being a defensive coordinator for Alabama for 10 years and Dan Mullen being a bowl-winning head coach at an SEC program before going to his alma mater.
Hey, we should have like a 2-part series about the Barry Odom era.
That's a good idea. Probably one of our most listened to episodes.
Yeah, you asked me about the West, didn't you?
Yeah, that's next on my list.
Well, I actually don't think LSU is going to be up there this year. I mean, obviously they'll probably still beat Missouri, but I have you heard of Alabama?
Who's that?
I guess I'll pick them.
Yeah, how can you not?
They don't have any COVID positives, so they
Right.
never will.
Yeah,
Because they already did.
yeah, that's true. I saw I don't know how I saw this, but I saw like a fake email was sent to a college football reporter saying that the Alabama football players were getting together to have a COVID party. And this reporter was very interested and wanted to know sources, but it was all fake and kind of a joke being played on the reporter. I kind of felt bad for him, but also he seemed really eager to
break the story.
Yeah, break news on that. Yeah, Alabama's going to be really good. And I think they will actually be better if they turn to their freshman quarterback early. Now, it may not make much of a difference, honestly. I think they'll be fine either way. But I think they could be, just unstoppable if they have a mobile quarterback who can make plays when things break down or just extend plays and find their athletic receivers. Because as good as those receivers are going to be about just getting open all the time whenever they want, if he can buy them an extra second or two by just moving around a little bit, they'll just be unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And he won't really need to like scramble for 50 to 70 yards per game, which he could do if he wanted to, but he won't need to. He'll just need to buy a little bit of time, and one of these incredibly athletic first-round NFL draft pick receivers will be able to make a play.
They did lose a lot of talent in the wide receiver room. Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, and it's insane how
They just reload.
Well, they didn't even need to. They had I'm blanking on his name, but they had another receiver who could have been, he could have been one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL draft this past season, and he decided to stick around and dominate college football one more season.
Yeah.
Of course, Najee Harris at running back.
Yeah.
So in a potential Florida versus Alabama SEC title game, who do you like?
I have no idea. I guess Bama.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I thought you were about to scold me for not coming up with a convicted answer.
No.
Okay, well, Cameron, I have an easy question for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Who's worse, Vanderbilt or Arkansas?
Arkansas.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You think they're worse than Vanderbilt?
Yes.
I love it.
That's
I don't know
that's
if
a little bit of
agree.
that's a little bit of bias.
Oh, okay.
I have nothing personally against Vanderbilt, and
Anchor down.
yeah, I would be rooting
for
Vanderbilt 100%.
Yes.
In that head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, which I haven't even really looked. I was going to go through and pick every game of the
Century.
SEC, the game of the century, and
Which
then
would not be Arkansas versus Vanderbilt.
Well, in one way,
Could be a really good game. Bad, but good.
that makes zero sense.
That didn't make zero sense, though, you said?
Yeah. But then the schedules all got topsy-turvy
That's true.
when we added 2 games, and I don't know who's playing who. No idea.
It's almost a round robin.
Yeah.
Like,
Is Arkansas playing Vanderbilt this year? I have no idea.
I don't know.
Probably not, because that doesn't make sense for the 2 worst teams to play each other from opposite divisions. Producer Cameron might find out for us.
Good man.
But, yeah. I think Vanderbilt would win that game.
Okay.
Easily.
One more question for you. What game on Mizzou's schedule are you most excited for?
South Carolina. I think that's the point in the schedule where we're going to really start to know a lot about this roster, assuming we're not losing a dozen players a week.
That's
to
what, like
COVID.
8 games in, so I certainly hope so. That is definitely like probably the most evenly
Is it that far
matched.
in?
I'm pretty sure it's like,
Oh.
well, I don't know. It's like the 7th or something, 7th or 8th game.
8.
Wow.
So yeah, we better know.
We'll
at
know a
that
lot
point.
by then.
I definitely do think that's probably one of Missouri's most like evenly matched games. So that's just like a game you want to.
What's game 4?
Vanderbilt.
What's game 5? Kentucky.
Florida. Then Kentucky.
I don't know the schedule very
We already
well.
went through the schedule. didn't
I
we?
know,
through the schedule.
We already previewed it.
Like last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, I think something about the Missouri-South Carolina matchup the last few seasons has been special, and I think there's a budding rivalry there, if not full blown, and much more so than Arkansas. That's a forced, fake nonsense. I don't like them, but if you want a real rival, the Battle of the Columbias is where it's at.
Interesting. All right, that's a little bit of a hot take, but
I'll stand by it.
okay.
Kyle, I don't think I have anything else to add.
Yeah,
I got my easy questions out there. Florida and Alabama, we just had to agree on everything.
Yep. Hey, next week, gonna preview not Arkansas. We're gonna preview Alabama.
Jeez, you don't know the schedule either.
I
That's
don't
the
either.
last game of the season.
And we're
I
hey,
do
good
know
job,
that.
Good job.
Thank you.
We're gonna pray that Missouri's gonna play against Alabama
Live on air. We're gonna pray.
air, and we're going to preview Alabama.
Yep.
Even though I think we pretty much already have 2 different times.
No, we haven't.
But we're gonna do
a lot
deep
more to
dive.
say about Alabama.
All right. Okay, everyone. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, or on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod. And you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.
If you want a t-shirt, you want stickers, MissouriSportsPod.bigcartel.com.
Cartel.
Yeah, watch out.
Oh, God.
It's a good place. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's a good place.
We'll see you next week.